everyone, welcome. Really happy to present Jason Connor and David Hobbins to do building a ship-proof business today. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, please sit down. Sit down. If you're on Zoom, they don't know that you're not standing up, so I might as well play them too. My name is Jason Connor. I'm going to be teaching the class today, but I want to introduce David Hobbins. We're really excited because we are a partner now with your market center to come in and provide full-on transaction management services. So our goal is to direct and lead and drive everything that's non-fiduciary. And you're going to have a go-to person that we'll see in and out of the office and virtually. We have a virtual office that's open. I'll let him talk about that. But I wanted to have David start for a few moments and introduce himself, talk about his role, how he's going to be playing in the market center. So why don't you go and do that, and then I'll take over from there.
Perfect. Thanks, Jason. Like you say, my name is David Hobbins. I'm a leverage leader with LevPros. So what the leverage leader is I a licensed professional that will be doing you guys as transaction coordinator, specifically for you guys, your direct point of contact. I'll be telling you guys how I can save you some time in your business to help you grow your business. I can be an added value, be a resource to you guys, help you with anything that you need that is non-fiduciary, like Jason was telling you guys earlier. That's our main goal here, is just to be a resource, to be another tool in your toolbox for your business, right? To help you guys get more out of your business, take away some of that time that it can be a headache with the paperwork, right? So that's what I'll be going over. Right here, that Jason has pulled up is actually the client portal. First, you guys will have access to all your deals 24/7. So you'll be able to see what's going on in your deal. I know traditionally with transaction managers, transaction coordination, you're not allowed to do that. Not like after 5 p.m., you get it over your TC. You have to wait till the next day, right? Not with us. It could be 10, 11 o'clock at night, and go in and see what's going on in your deal. Jason, if you could scroll down.
Yeah, the issue I'm having is I think Flash is not updated on this computer.
Okay,
so
no problem. Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
So, what he was trying to show you guys is our leverage board. Our leverage board is where you have that access to be able to see what's going on with your deals. You'll be able to see what's going on in every stage, what's being done with them, right? So you can see it's being set up in compliance, and if we're talking to your vendor, you can see exactly what we're doing. It's great because it gives you real time, up to date what's going on in the deal. It also gives you real time data. And we post transactions will be in there as well too. So for my cappers, they appreciate that a lot. It brings a lot of value to their business.
Yeah, I just gave up on showing that. Sorry. Tech. We're tech gurus. It's great. No, that's awesome. So David's excited to be here and be a part of the market center. You'll see him a lot. We're going to teach classes regularly. We'll be teaching some. I'll come in and teach some. We'll have other guests that will come. We're going to tease an event we're actually going to do in June with a bunch of other market centers that we're really excited about to invite you to. But main point is there's David's contact info, david@levpros.com. And to make sure that you contact him and say hello, if you want the digital workbook that is a self-guided workbook for today's class on ship-proof your business, you have to email David and say, send me the workbook in the subject line, and then he will send you the workbook. You don't need it to actually follow along in the class today, but I'll reference it a few times, and it has some self-guided activities for you to actually go through the process of examining your business and how ready you are for a shift.
I'm also very accessible too, so my phone number is here as well too. You guys can reach out to me anytime, give me a call, shoot me a text, any questions that you have, please feel free. I like to build rapport. People that I'm working with is something that's very important to me, so I'll be reaching out to you guys. You guys can give me a ring.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Awesome. Well, my name is Jason Connor, and I'm excited to be here. I have been with KW my entire real estate career. I got into real estate about 7 years ago. Prior to that, I worked in corporate world. I was a management consultant for big healthcare companies, so very different vibes from what we do now. I don't sell my soul as much in this job, so that's fun. But I really enjoy it. I love real estate. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about Keller Williams and what this company allows us to do, the culture we have. I was a mega agent, a mega team owner. I was a pro coach in the region. I actually had 3 different market centers that I was the pro coach for at one point. I'm a KW faculty member, which is why I'm here teaching today. And I founded LevPros back in 2019. So to answer a question that we sort of got earlier, LevPros is KW. LevPros is 100% owned by Keller Williams. It was not in 2019 when I founded it. And I share this because, and you're going to hear a lot about that story actually, because I'm going to use that story to talk about shifts. And because we went through a pretty big shift ourselves as we grew and launched a business about 3 months before a worldwide pandemic, right? So I'm going to use some of those lessons to talk about how you can examine your businesses. And what I like about using our story is it shows you that these business principles, the things that we learn from the one thing, the things that we learn from the real estate agent, they're not just about real estate, they're just really good, sound business practices. So we work for the only company, or we associate with the only company where I can take the models that our founder wrote the book on, build something with it, and then turn around and sell it back to them, which is pretty freaking cool. So I just wanted to share that a little bit about kind of who I am and why I'm here. I want to talk about, the subject today is shift-proofing your business, but like with anything, we have to start with some mindset activities, right? So I'm sure you've heard start with why. You've probably heard that in this company before. What does that mean to you all? What's your why?
Why do you need to do this?
Right? What gets you out of bed, right? What motivates you to do it? What else? Is it always money? Okay. What are other reasons we might get out of bed to do something?
It's to help people.
To help people, we have that drive. Kids, we have support people we have to support, right? That depend on us. Very true. I'll tell you a little bit about my why back in 2019. So I want to, I love this little picture of this girl. We were so innocent in 2019. Do you remember? Seems like 3 decades ago.
Yeah, right.
But I was approaching burnout. I'd had a mega team for a long time. I had hundreds of folks in my coaching program. I kept getting some jobs back that I hated, one of which was transaction management and coaching around transactions. As a pro coach, and I think you're the pro coach here, so you'll appreciate this, I wanted to be coaching around productivity and around lead gen activities. And I had to stop and teach contracts and answer questions for agents who, by the way, didn't even have clients to put under contracts, right? But they were just really worried about how the contract market was going to work. And so I farmed this out. There's third-party TCs that have been in existence for decades, right? You've probably heard of them or worked with some. And I kept getting it back because they kept getting capped out at a certain number of files, or they weren't able to update the agents the way that the agents wanted. They weren't able to scale their businesses. And really what I've learned since is TCs were going through the same growth pains that agents go through, the independent ones, the ones that are growing the business, where they have to find a model and a system to follow to make that work. And so I started a company to do that. I thought, well, if people are already begging to use my admin to do this, let me just start a little company for my coaching clients. And it took off right away. And then other offices started reaching out and asking, because I was teaching around the region at that point, if I would help them set up stuff. And so just kind of snowballed into, there was a need. We were doing something a little disruptive. Our model specifically, and I won't get too much into LevPros because that's what David's here for. But what I'll share with you is we were able to disrupt it with some tech. There's some innovations. You'll see like the leverage board, other things, and also with the process by which we manage. So before in the TC world, it was you are everything to everyone. You're burned out in 2 years and you cap out about 40, 60 files. Our leverage leaders can handle up to 100 at a time because they have an entire team of support behind them. It's a hub and spoke model, not dissimilar, right, to what you might hear Gary talk about in business ventures now, right? If you listen to our leaders talk, they'll talk a lot about that hub and spoke model and the expansion team model, by the way. If you ever heard anything about that within Keller Williams, it's a hub and spoke model. You're supposed to have a hub, and then you use that hub to support your satellite offices, right? But no one had really done that in the TC space. So we were a little different. I launched in November. Our whole really got earnest launching in November. Our whole model was around going and doing what we're doing here today, being the in-house agent services department. And then March, the world shut down. So there was no in-house. So I went from a list of 30 some offices that were ready to launch with us to 0 overnight. And I had to adapt and change my model. Why am I spending so much time talking to you about LevPros? Well, we're talking about a shift, right? What is a shift? It's a change. Any change. It can be upwards, it can be downwards, it can be sideways, but it's a monumental shift in how a market functions, the mindset of the people in that market, right? And how they want you to do business with them. Do you think we went through one of those in 2020 during the pandemic? Heck yes. One could argue we're still in it, right? And that it's just going to keep evolving because God knows what's going to happen in the world with all this stuff, right? That's why we're here today. That's why we're talking about it. So what did we do? Well, we had to pivot our model. So we went from that office-based model to going direct to the agents. right? And so we just pivoted very fast and we were still able to grow. And then when the world opened back up, we were able to go back to the agent model. I share that to show that we had to change what we thought we had to do in order to survive and take market share. Okay, so if you hear nothing else from me today, what I want you to hear is that we are still in a shift. Okay, it may get bumpier, weirder. It's going to do this a little bit, I think, over the next couple of years, right? And if you aren't adapting and changing your skills and winterizing and all the things we're going to talk about, right, you're not going to be able to take market share. What we know about a shift is two things. If you lose market share, you're likely to never get it back, ever. If you gain market share during a shift, the folks who got into the business in 07, 08, 09, 10, right, my mentor, my business partner, Mickey Pascarella, those guys took market share and never lost it. When you look at the big names around the city, there are some legacy names. I mean, I'm from Philly, by the way, so I'll use some Philly names. But you know, like Mike McCann or any of those big names that we've heard of, yeah, he's been around for a long time. But those other ones, you can almost immediately show their trajectory. Those $100 million plus teams, the agents that grew, it started during a shift because they did something different. They took market share during that shift. And so what we want to talk about is how do we do that? So first of all, know your why. So I told you I was burnt out. I wanted to do something different. I knew that I wanted to work with a team. I was done, and by team, I mean I owned a team, but a team where I wasn't the one in charge, quite frankly. I was done being the only person with all the answers. I wanted to find a group of people, a squad, if you will, that could run as fast as me and help build something. So that was my why going in, but then it needed some refinement. I knew I wanted to help people. I heard that earlier. I started in the business as an admin, which was a very bad fit. I'm the worst admin in the world. You never hired me as your admin. But I did okay, right? I think the talented person can make anything work for a while, right? I quickly became the director of sales, et cetera. But what I learned from starting as an admin is so many times admin do 80% of the work and get less than 20% of the pay and the credit, right? And so I also wanted to be able to provide an avenue for really talented admin and driven, awesome people like David and Francesca, one of our leverage leaders from another market center, where they had a business to plug into and they were supported and could run it and feel like it was something that they could take and run and to drive with. So that was my why. So remember when I talked about when the market shifted and everything closed? Well, we had to find out what our winterized levels were. So I had goals, right? I started the company with $400 and no paid staff. I had 3 people that agreed to come in with me on this, and those are our co-founders, and it was our second job. We all had other jobs. We were full-time agents, and we had other things that we were building. And so we had to say, all right, well, if we want to grow really big, and our goal from the very first meeting, we're in a market center conference room, kind of like this, and on a whiteboard, our goal was to become the largest agent services company in the world, which is pretty lofty for $400 and no paid staff, right? And so in order to do that, we had to know, well, even if the world shut down, what will we have to do? What are the winterized levels? How many agents would I have to get to come in and sign up that we would be on track where we were from the old model anyway? And so when we talk about winterized levels, and when you see these bulleted, highlighted points, okay, today's class comes from a series of workshops around shift. And it takes hours and hours to go through that, usually a full day course. I'm smushing down the important bits in an hour. Okay, and then the workbook that you'll get if you email David with the subject line, send me my workbook, or whatever I told you earlier. Maybe with those will work, he'll know who you are. He will make sure that you get that digital workbook to work through some of this. Also, you should be reading Shift right now. Who has read it? Okay, when's the last time you read it? Right here.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
3 months ago? 2 months
Okay.
ago?
Dang, I was looking for like over a year. Read it again. That was even my joke.
All of it over a year.
Read it again, Wendy.
All
All right, good. No, I mean, look, and I'll be honest, guys, I love reading. The one thing's one of my favorites because it's short, sweet, easy to get around. Shift is not the easiest read for me. It is boring. I'm just video. Now I'm fired. Gosh, dang it. All right, but it's very hard to get through. But the principles that are in there, right? There are great resources online where they pull out all of the just the images and stuff, and those are awesome. So the classes and the principles that you guys have, the workbook activities that you're going to get when you email David, send me my workbook in the subject line. When you get that, right, then you can go through those things and really start to analyze your business. So you're going to be able to set those winterized levels. The other thing you have to be really crystal clear around is what is your goal? So you said you read Shift 3 months ago. Can I ask what's your role? Are you an agent? Are you an admin? Are you a mega agent? Tell me who you are.
No, I'm an agent. I've been an agent for like 4 months. months.
Almost 4 months. Okay.
So I'm pretty new.
Welcome. I love it.
Yeah.
How you doing? How's it going?
I haven't gotten a client yet, but I'm working on it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So how does this apply to someone who's brand new, who's been in the business a while?
Been in the business.
Donna.
Does anybody know who's been in the business for?
Yes, we got a few of them. We do.
Have you seen some shifts?
Yes.
Right. What do you do during a shift? What did you tell me you just do every
I
day?
did a video on the shift that I already realized,
Okay.
and I sent it out to everybody so they know what's going on.
Okay. So you're educating your folks.
I'm
But
educating
what have you done in
everybody.
past shifts? How did you make it?
You adapt, you do it, and you make a change,
Right.
and you have to change and you do it.
One of the things she said at the beginning, I loved it. It was something like, I just show up and do the work. And that's the main lesson about a shift. More than ever, you can't hide, right? We can all say we lead gen 2 hours a day,
Oh,
right? Right? Okay. But during a shift, if you're not working that lead gen muscle, you're in trouble because your skill sets are going to matter, right? Now that listings maybe sit a little longer in some areas, right? In Philly, it's block by block. You know, all of a sudden skills that agents who the last 3 years have no idea how to even set those things, no offense to newer agents, are going to have to study and learn those skills, right? And so you can be ahead of the game, even if you're 4 months in, by going to classes like this, by learning the different principles. So, you know, reading through MREA, reading through shift, reading through the one thing. Okay, self-assess and build a squad. So I told you I wanted a team. I was done, you know, it was lonely. Success is lonely, okay? Who's your squad? 4 months in.
Well, I work on a team with my wife,
Okay, great squad.
and Marie's my PC coach.
I love that. What a great squad. You have the great answer, right?
Yeah.
So the point is you have a squad even if you don't have a squad. What does that mean? Well, one of the most influential quotes that, and I'd heard it a bunch of times, but when Gary said it from family reunion stage like 6 years ago, he said, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I mean, we've heard some version of that, right? But I was stuck in my life before I got into real estate. I was 70 pounds heavier than I am now. I was traveling 200 days a year. I was not happy. And I realized in that moment that I had become, I could visually see the 5 people I spent most time with and their DNA all over me. I could see how I became who they were for the good and the bad. So I made some really tough decisions and I went back and I built a new squad. The other thing that Gary said at that same conference is that you're only 5 years away from any goal you want to hit. It's about 6 years ago. I've done pretty well, right? So you just have to follow that model and find that squad of support, your PC, your wife, your vendors, your lenders. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Okay, SMART goals centered around your mission. So we've heard that acronym before, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and I always forget the T, timely. Thank you. Right? So making sure that your goals are actually measurable, they're tied to something. If you haven't taken the new Ignite course, they've redone and all the new materials and it's just rolled out now. So you probably have not taken it yet. They've redone all the formulas and everything to help you build out. So if nothing else, you should take like the first 2 because they've redone all the formulas to help you build out your annual plan, right? What do I need to hit? How many conversations do I need to be having? All the things that I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about, you have those resources for because you're at the greatest company for real estate in the world, right? Thank you. All right. So, and then the last thing I want to share that I really took into this and the foundations that you need to be thinking about is none of us are, well, let me rephrase. I'm not a rock star. I wish I was, right? Meaning I'm a normal person. It takes me time to learn things. I'm not a savant by any stretch of the imagination. And yet, when we read the self-help books or we hear about the people who are really successful, it can seem like they are those types of people. And it can feel very different from where we are. I don't know if you've ever felt that, but I've certainly felt that. I'm not a 4:30 a.m.er, right? God help those crazy freaking people that can get up at 4:30 a.m. Good for you. I share the story, right? That when we started this, I was an agent. I was winding down my coaching program so we could do this. I would, as an agent, I'd get up at the, 9, sometimes 10, right? I'd go out the night before. I was living an agent lifestyle, right? Which is bad, by the way. Don't do that. And so I had to work really hard. And so when we launched this and it was our part-time gig and we wanted to grow it, we had to start meeting earlier and earlier. And so my philosophy is different, good, better, best. So you can't really get to good until you get to different, which means just do something different. So I had to enter bets. I had to bet, I'm a rough person to get up in the morning. It takes me, I don't even know what I'm doing. I shut off the alarm and I'm like, oh crap. So I had to have money on the line. I had to know if I was in a bet with someone, I had to have people hold me accountable to that. And I'm proud to say that now I get up at the butt crack of 7:30 a.m. every day. Thank you. Thank you. And this is a compliment. No. But that works for me, right? So what I want you to hear me say is like, I'm not that 4:30 a.m.er to do all these things. And most people aren't. So you got to find what's going to work for you and just get a little bit better every day. So if you're like me at all and you're holding a lot of that guilt over your head, let that crap go because it's just going to get in the way. Okay. All right. So how do we stay motivated? Well, and these are, again, right from the Shift Doctrine. So if you read the Shift book a few months ago, this should all sound familiar, right? You have to constantly adapt, analyze, and revise. The reason I share our story at the beginning is I could not have expected the world to shut down, right? And yet it did. And yet I still had, at that point, hires I'd made, promises to people. We were growing and I had to do something, right? And so that big why, okay, that we talked about earlier, which could be children, could be helping people, whatever y'all share, that has to stay front and center. It got really bad before it got good for us, right? I sold the furniture out of my house to meet payroll after I hired people. Like that's how committed I was to this vision to make it happen, right? And so are you that committed to your why, right? Because if you are, and you understand that getting up on time and making the phone call is the only thing in between you and getting to the why, then that guilt you should feel, okay? Don't feel the guilt of doing everything perfect all the time. Feel that little bit of pang of, I gotta get up and do this because my why is connected to it. If I don't get up, no one else is gonna do it. Those admin are still gonna be making 20% of the pay, and those freaking agents, they're gonna be mean to them, right? So you gotta get up and you gotta figure out what's your why and how are you gonna help people, okay? You have to constantly feed your mindset. We learned early on, there were 4 of us. Again, none of us were getting paid, all part-time folks, just trying to build this in the beginning. And even for us, we started having weekly like mastermind edification, like just learning things, sharing, a quote we found or a video we liked, just something that took us out of the day-to-day of the grind, right? And fed your mind or fed your soul, right? And so you need to find that. If it's Simon Sinek, if it's church, whatever it is for you, go find something that feeds your soul. For me, it's nature. I was just camping this past weekend. I would try to be in the woods whenever I can when I'm off because it centers me and it grounds me. And then I can hustle when I'm here, right? So whatever it is that works for you. The biggest thing that I think allowed us to go from a $400 company to a multi-million-dollar company in 2 years during a pandemic, that's the spoiler alert, by the way, was having closed loop communications. So very, very early on, we got aggressive at running towards communication. So we're not responding or reactive. We're not waiting for something to happen, right? We're overanalyzing what could go wrong and we're running towards all those solutions. And then not only do you have to be in front of it, but then you have to come back and close the loop on it. And that's the piece a lot of us miss. So if I'll give you one example. If I say, hey, Miss Agent, I'd like to have you list my property and I want to list for $250,000, and I need you to send over the contract right away. And you send me the contract, right? But you don't have any pricing on it, right? You just sent it. Like, well, how do I feel? Probably as a seller. You didn't listen to me, right? Okay. So you have to look for those nuances in communication and then repeat it back. I was sharing with David earlier. One of my earliest communications professors taught me something. He said you have to teach people what you're going to tell them. You have to teach them what you're teaching them, and you have to teach them what you just told them. And it's the perfect way to think about your presentation styles as agents, right? Start with a beginning that says, hey, here's who I am, here's my value, here's what I'm here for, and here's what we're gonna get done today. Talk about what you're doing, show them, and stick to what your plan is too. Because just like in that example, if I say, hey, I'm gonna show you exactly what your house is worth, and I'm gonna come up with a 80-point marketing plan, whatever y'all are using these days, right? And I'm gonna show it. And then you show up and none of that is ready, you've already lost your credibility. As agents, we constantly overpromise and underdeliver. It's just in our DNA, right? And I'm an agent personality, so I get that. So we have to close the loop on our communications, or else we lose the trust of our clients. And then you have to master your skills. All right. So how do you stay in an opportunity mindset? Markets shift, and it is going to be hard, right? The reason I share the selling all the furniture out of my house story is because I want you to know it's not easy. Right? What's not easy right now? Because I contend we're still in a shift. What are we experiencing, especially for my folks who've been in the industry for a while? What are you noticing that's different now, at least for me, that I had not seen in my almost 10 years, going almost 10 years in the
You're
industry?
not getting 16 offers in one day.
So that's changing, right? Okay. What else?
And they're staying on the market longer.
Staying on the market longer. So all the typical indicators, that's true. We're starting to see those things. But I'm looking, there's a couple other things that I've noticed that I've never noticed before. What's true about the market right now? Maybe it's just in Philly because we're all a bunch of meatheads, but I
Well,
think
the
it's
buyers
probably
are
true up
scared.
here.
They're scared.
Everybody's scared, right? Is anyone's anxiety at a higher level than it was in 2019 in this room? Yeah, right?
Everybody.
So everyone is in that mode. What does that mean? When we're all carrying around that ball of anxiety, what your communications can be more explosive, right? You might get the assault that was meant for 3 people before, but they're just catching up with their timeline and their day, right? And now they're like, "You're the worst," right? And they're yelling at you, right? And I mean, that's humans have always been humans, but more than ever, we are all tense and on edge, right? So you need to run towards that, know that, right? Acknowledge it. Hey, the world's weird and scary right now. My job here is just to hold your hand through it and we'll figure it out together. Be honest with the clients that you're sharing that with. So markets are always going to be in transition.
That's what they're saying about driving, for instance.
Yeah.
We hear all the time.
Yeah.
The driving on the road is crazy.
Right.
They're nuts. You're
More
right.
than ever. Yeah, road rage is off the chain. And I have won medals in my road rage ability. My second mom was a church secretary by day and a bartender by night.
Oh my God.
And she always drove like a bartender. Like in Jersey, like how you all drive. And so, but yes, you're right. I mean, never before. And now I'm worried. Like, I don't even like yell, because they might pull out a gun and shoot you. Like, the world is weird, right? And so we have to be prepared for that. The markets are always going to be in transition. Like you said, you're going to see the days on market go up and they'll go down. What's true though, I don't want you to get too afraid. In the worst shift ever, you know what the total reduction was in all of real estate overall across the country? And I'm talking about 08, 09. It was less than 20%, right? Which means that 80% of all the people that were going to buy and sell houses still bought and sold houses.
Right.
Because people are still going to move. People are still going to die. People are still going to get jobs, lose jobs. Life goes on, right? In some capacity, even during the freaking shutdown of the world, it still went on, right? And so what we know is if we can just be ahead of that and be prepared for it, we can get there. And you do that by increasing your skills, by staying in an opportunity mindset. You want to look for new strategies constantly, but be careful, right? One of the things that is true about our industry is success in this industry is boring. What does that mean? You heard that before? There you go, for Philly. You've heard that before? What does it mean?
Well, there's a lot of repetition.
Yeah.
To the quality of your work.
Yep. I mean, you heard me reference someone like a Mike McCann. Talk about a guy who's all repetition all day. He just gets up and he jumps on the same lever that he's been jumping on for 80 years. And he has, I would make that joke if you were here, right? But no, I mean, he just does the same freaking thing. And he's the giant in the industry in our area, right? Because he just does the same thing consistently. So be honest with yourself too. If that's not you, right? If you know that you can't consistently do something, then you need to look for ways to either add leverage around those things or build some sort of support system so that you're holding yourself accountable like I did when I couldn't get up in the mornings, right? If you can't lead gen, then you need to have a coach, the pro coach that was here a second ago. You have someone and you need to say, hey, hold me accountable. And if I don't do it, make it hurt, right? I mentioned I was 70 pounds heavier, still very much on a weight loss journey. But the way I lost weight is my old business partner, Mickey, and I had a bet. And it was during 2016, and that was pretty heated political times, if you'll recall. And who thought it could get worse? I did, but it did. That's fun. And then I had to make out a check, sizable check, to a candidate that I did not support. And in fact, I knew that Mickey kind of did, so he would find glee in sending that check if I screwed up. And so every day I had to bring my lunch, and I had to walk to and from work. My house is about a mile from the office. So I'd walk, if it wasn't raining or snowing, I would walk to and from work and I lost 70 pounds. Just knowing that there was that piece there that I, come hell or high water, I was not donating to whoever, I won't say it, but I wasn't going to do it, right? And so that was enough to get me up. I'd struggled with weight my whole life, I still do, but I'm much healthier now than I was then. Your business is the same way. Dummy proof it, right? If you're not good at something, find someone in your life who is that can help you get there. What you have to be good at though is driving those relationships, which I think you are, you wouldn't be in this industry, right? That's why we're here. Okay, good. The other thing is the skill sets, right? I'm going to tease, guys, we're going to have an education day. It's not just me talking, which would be relieved after the last 35 minutes. We're going to bring in lots of talented folks who are going to come and teach different courses. It's on the 15th of June. You're going to see stuff coming out about that starting tomorrow. It will be in New Jersey. It's very limited. We're only sharing it with 5 or 6 market centers that we partner with in the area. And it's meant for your TL and you all to bring recruits as well, if you're interested. So it's just KW offices that are coming together to do that. It's called the Agent Growth Summit on June 15th. We're going to have some really amazing content. And it's going to dive in a lot deeper, actual workshop style. We'll be able to work on something, right? It's hard to fit all this in a lunch and learn. Okay, so all of this is about skill set and staying in opportunity mindset. I want to take a point to the second one up, bulletproof your transactions. Wouldn't it be awesome if there was like this company out there that drove the transactions and their compliance process was your office's compliance process, and they were like an expert and like really cared about you a lot and wanted to help you do all those things and build your business? That'd be cool. Someone should start that company. You're welcome. So my point is, right, you have that. So shift proofing your business means if you are someone who does 20, 30 deals a year, that's usually when we say, hey, go hire an admin, it's time, right? Not right now. Don't go spend $60,000 on a salary, which by the way, is kind of the minimum to limp in anything in the market right now. We hire a lot, I promise. Okay, so don't do that. Find ways to leverage out that in your business. Pay per transaction. What's great about our model is there's no upfront cost, and if the deal doesn't close, you don't owe anything. So now instead of carrying a salary, you're tying it to your production. And I share that not just to brag about us, but also to say there are other ways you can do that in your business. Don't go hire a big marketing package right now. You need to be cutting expenses and looking for ways to tie your expenses to actual revenue and production. We actually have to run our businesses like businesses during a shift. We don't just get to luck into things, right? And I'm the king of lucking into things when it came into real estate, right? I was not very disciplined. Right? So these things I take to heart now, and that's what I was able to do to build something. All right. You have to have your plan. So in that guidebook that you're going to get from David when you email him with send me my guidebook in the subject line at david@levpros.com, there's a plan in there. There are tools that you can go through at your own pace. I pulled the best tools. So there are 36 total shift classes in the KWU curriculum. My team and I went through all of them, hours and hours of slides, and we pulled what we thought were the best of those things and put them into that workbook for you to kind of go through and analyze where you're at right now in your business. So I do recommend that you go through that and get that tool and go through it. That'll give you your plan. As we talked about, know your strengths. What's your greatest strength?
Pricing guru.
All right. I'm gonna take you on the road with me. You're like a plant.
Yeah, you
Always the right answer. All right. Know your strengths, right? And look, there's someone who's experienced, right, in the industry. She knows where her value add is. She didn't hesitate. Do you think a seller feels that confidence when she's in the room? Heck yeah. So if you can't immediately, when I say, hey, what's your strength? If you can't know where your value proposition is, you're gonna have a hard time making connections in this type of market. Okay? Use affirmations. I am not that guy. Again, I talk Miracle Morning, all that. I'm not the self-help guy. I find it all like I'm a skeptic, right? However, 2020, we're in 2022, right? I'll do this. In 2020, at the end of 2020, I went to this team thing and I did a vision board. I roll. God, so stupid. I hate it. So I did a vision board. If you've never done one, we cut pictures out of magazines. It's all very shishi frou-frou for me. And I didn't believe in it at all. And then I took it home and we did little mini ones instead of the big, gaudy, ugly posters. So at least there was that. And I set it on my desk and it was there for a year. And I looked at it occasionally, but I just kind of forgot about it. And I looked at the end of 2021 and literally every single freaking picture that I cut out had come true. And I was like, what is this witchcraft? So maybe we don't need to practice skills at all, just, you know, say a prayer and cut out some pics from a magazine. No, but I share that to mean it works, right? What you focus on expands. And so if you are careful and if you are deliberate about where your goals are and you do put them in front of you, however that works for you, I was teasing about poo-pooing the vision board. If you're a vision board person, build the biggest, best, most beautiful vision board. If you are if you're a spreadsheet person, build the biggest, best spreadsheet, right? But have that in front of you all the time. If you're an affirmations person, stand in the mirror and say, gosh darn it, people are gonna like you today, right? Or whatever that old phrase was from the 70s, I forget. All right, cool. Couple more, almost there. Everybody get enough to eat?
Yeah.
All right. Here's something else I learned. You know, be vulnerable. I'm trying to be vulnerable with you all today. I shared that it wasn't easy. I made lots of mistakes. I'm not perfect at things, but if I wasn't vulnerable both with myself and with my team, they would have read me as a fraud, right? And same with your sellers and your buyers. Right? So it's okay. And what I mean by that is it's okay to acknowledge that the world's crazy. It's okay to acknowledge that, hey, you know, data is changing, the market is changing, and my job is to be the thermometer on that market for you. So it's okay to know that what I say today might be different from what the market does 2 days from now, Mr. Seller or Mr. Buyer, or Mrs. Seller, Mr. Buyer, right? And so have that vulnerable, honest conversations with your clients. As business leaders, think about what people and what do you need to bring into your business right now. But remember, you can't spend money. So that's a fun challenge, right? We don't want to go spend a lot of money right now because the world's weird and we want to make sure we're shored up. But what you can do is look for the systems, look for the a la carte things, the things that you can plug into and scale, the free things, right? There are so many things out there. Agents are the biggest mark in the world because we get hit up for everything. We buy all the shiny things and then we never use them. Right? And so don't buy the shiny things. Focus on basics. Good, you know, different, good, better, best. Get to different first. So if you are sitting in this class right now and you don't have a P&L for your business, even if you've never done a deal, okay, and you don't have a very clear list of goals that you can break down to the actionable items you need to take every single day, you do not have a business, right? You might have a really fancy, you might have a really successful hobby even. But what happens when you are the only person that puts in all the effort? What's true about a business is it's not around one person. And that's really where I got lost. And that's why I started this, because I was tired of being the one person business, right? A business should outlast you. It's about more than you, right? And so knowing that squad, identifying those gaps, and constantly, you know, sharing those wins and losses with your team, being held accountable. There's not, you know, David and I have had conversations. David has been with us, the company, not very long, a few months, experienced transaction manager, right? But with LevPros, relatively new. David, have you had conversations with me in the last 2 months where you told me I was wrong?
Yes.
Okay, how did I take it?
Great.
Yeah, thank you. Also a plan. No, but the point is, it doesn't matter, right? Drop the ego. Because if there are people in your world, you should never assume you're the smartest person in the room. I don't, right? David had awesome experience in areas that I did not have and brought really cool ideas to the table. We implemented them and guess what? We got better, right? And that's what you should constantly be looking at. Who knows who's the expert, right? Who can I follow? Where's the model that I can plug into? And I'm telling you, for me, and this is kind of the moral of my whole story, for me, I built a multi-million-dollar business in 2 years during a pandemic by following 2 books, the one thing and the MREA. That was it. And oh, by the way, the business was not a real estate sales business, but it still worked with those models. Okay, I did it on teams twice. I built 2 $30+ million teams following those models, and I was bad at it then. I've gotten better. I've gotten better now, right? So I share with you that to say it doesn't matter where you're at, right? Remember that you need to find your squad. You are the sum of those people that you're spending the most time with, and that means everyone, right? Now, I had a parent once in a class I was teaching. Well, what if it's my kids and they're the most toxic relationships? And I was like, well, if they're under 18, you got to keep those. I'm sorry, but you know, but keep it real, right? I mean, I shared my story. One of my best friends, we've been friends for 10 years. It was toxic. It wasn't good. We talked down about life with each other, and it was a constant pit of depression and void and no positivity. You can't have those things in your life, especially not in times like these. Right? Okay. All right, that's pretty much what I came to share today. I wanted to kind of, there's one slide I want to end on. And all this stuff, again, is going to be in that workbook, and you'll guide through it. What do you leverage, right? Because my whole point is I think you can mostly shift through businesses through leverage. I built this business through leverage. If I hadn't have been able to leverage out, we would never been able to scale and build as fast as we did. And so you leverage the things you have mastered. Why would I give away something that I'm really good at? Let's think through it together.
Someone who can do it better.
Okay, maybe, but I'm good. What if I'm like the best at it? Why would I still give it away?
Some of the things that are more important.
Okay. Yeah, most likely that skill set is an in the business skill set, right? And if you're running a business, that part of you at least, you have 2 things most likely. If you're an independent agent, right, or even on a team, you have a one thing to the business, right, and the lead gen piece, that's the in the business. But then you have to be focused on the business, the goal setting, all the stuff we're talking about now. And so if you can't give something away, then I contend it's not a business. It is still just something that is all about you, right? If you can't give away the role you're in or what you're doing, that means you can't go anyplace else. You can't grow or scale, right? And so I share that to say I'm good at things. I like teaching. I like doing, there are things I'm really, but there are people in my company that they do those things. Right, which is hard for me. I'm a bit of a control freak. I want to make sure things are happening the right way, but I can't be the best me. I can't be the best leader. I can't do the things that I have to focus on if I'm stuck in, well, but I do this way because this is where I'm comfortable, right? This is my comfort zone. I know this. I'm easy, right? I can set any price anywhere, right? I know that, right? But challenge yourself to pick up other skills, okay? Things that don't drive revenue. One of the reasons, and this was my pitch to Gary when they called to buy LevPros, I believe, and he believed clearly because he bought it, was that more or less transaction management is a dead ROI cost. What does the Red Book MREA tell us we should be getting for a return on our investment? 4 to 1. 4 to 1, right? I can tell you've seen the MREA 2 models because it is 4 to 1. It used to be 9 to 1. In the book, there's a 9 to 1 lead gen one, which is insane. No one ever hit it, so that's why it's 4 to 1, right? There is not a world, and now that I've processed hundreds and hundreds of transactions all over the country, there's not a world where this will become a 4 to 1 return for you. And I share that with big teams that are transitioning into our system, solo agents, and by that I mean transaction management, right? I went back to what we're talking about, right? So that's for an example of something that does not drive revenue. So you would give it away. And especially if you can do it in a no upfront cost per fee scale. There are other things like marketing. Marketing will drive revenue, but things that maybe you're not good at or others can do better than you, right? No one wants me to build their website. I could figure it out. I've done it before. It would not be nice. Like go find someone who knows how to build a website, right? You don't want me as your leverage leader. I would be fired immediately. David is so much better than me, right? And those types of things. That's not what I'm good at, right? Things that can be done by someone else for less, huge, right? During the pandemic, I didn't get rid of anything because I needed money, right? But since as things have kind of gotten more normalized, like it's gonna sound bougie, I don't do my own laundry anymore, like ever. And if I never do laundry again, that would be great. It's my least favorite thing. It takes me hours more than it should because I leave it sit forever and it never actually goes out. It's just awful. So I found a service and they pick it up every week. And they bring it back, and it's like magic, right? For me, it's worth it because the hours of dread and BS that I'd be going through and the clutter in my house, and then, now I don't want to go anywhere because my house is like a mess, right? All that's out the window, and I can be clear-headed, and I always have fresh, clean clothes to wear. We're working on the style, but this is, what you got. All right. So I was like, oh, okay, it was good. I was like, I'm being told it's done. Let's do it. All right, things that can be done by someone else for less, and then never your one thing. So what I don't want you to hear me say is if you're really good at the lead gen piece, and you're still in that business, and you're not on level 7 or whatever MRA talks about now that you have to go to be able to leverage out, you never get to give away lead gen. I'm still in lead gen. I'm here. This is lead gen for me. When lead gen looks different these days, right? But I'm still in lead generation because I lead the company, right? And you lead your company. So you're going to constantly be in lead generation. That muscle needs to constantly be in work. Okay. All right. I have one more thing I want to share. I added a bunch of slides on it. All right, thriving in a shift. So this is my summary, right? So I came here and I said, look, let me give you some of the bullet points about what I learned building a business, now being in a couple of different shifts. Let me share with you what I know from looking at the 40 hours plus of content that we've got at KWU about putting on going through a shift, taking market share. And I wanted to highlight some of those things. So let me summarize, right? Tell them what you're going to tell them, tell them what you told them, tell them what you just told them. Remember? So if you prepare for the worst, you'll thrive in any market. True? You believe that? Okay, good. Not to be negative, but get, winterize, right? That's that principle. Your market center, and I know this to be true, has a winterized plan. Because Gary's a genius, and I stole it all, right, from him, but this is what we all do, right? You winterize yourself, okay? If you understand your why, you'll never quit. It was really freaking hard, and I got very close several days, right? But I was so clairvoyant around what I wanted to do and who I wanted to help and how I wanted to do it that nothing could knock me off target. And I had people in my corner in my squad that believed and supported me, which you have here, right, in the market center. Leverage can solve for loneliness in business. That kind of goes back to building the squad. I mean, who has felt lonely in business or in sales or entrepreneurship, right? You're everything to everyone all the time. And so if you really grow to trust your group of people, whether those be your vendors, your coach, your actual team, whatever that is, right, it can solve for that loneliness that we often feel. And then this is what I want to leave you on. This is actually what I was looking for to end. This is something that I firmly believe, and it helps me stay super grounded. I think you're only ever as good of a leader as your weakest habit. I still have lots of weak habits, things I'm working on, things I'm trying to get better, and I'm on that different good, better, best, right, path. But it helps me to know that my team, the people I work with now, my clients, right, not necessarily buyers and sellers, they look at me, and if I don't do what I say I'm going to do, or if I don't show up the way that I know I need to show up, respect and trust is gone, right? And that's very true for you as well. Skill sets matter right now. So build a bunker around what you know you have to get done, and if you have to pay someone to like fire a squad or a squirt gun in your face every time you nod off during lead gen, do it. I bet someone in this room for $2 an hour would sit there and just spray you in the face every time you weren't on a call, right? I mean, it couldn't be that dumb. I mean it, right? It was for me. It had to be that dumb. So that's my time. I want to answer any questions you might have. I'd like to end with any ahas, any takeaways. Did you learn anything?
A lot to absorb in one session.
A lot to absorb, right? Yeah.
Very good.
Well, Philly, we talk fast.
It was motivating, I must say.
Oh, good. Right on. What else? Anyone learn anything? What are we thinking we need to take and implement in our businesses to be ready for whatever's coming down the road?
Problem is to find the right squad, right people. That's the biggest problem.
Yep.
I mean, you gotta interview people and see if you could work together with them. Like you said, you could work with your best friend.
Yep.
Right? So it's not an easy task to
Yep.
get that squad that you really need, and that's the key.
No, I 100% agree. And I think if you're really honest with each other about your intentions and what you're trying to do, right, then you can get to the answer really fast. Look, it's not always gonna be the right fit.
Right?
I have lots of folks that I will really want to work with, and for whatever reason, it's just not the right time, right? So don't force things, for sure. It's a great point. What else?
Consistency.
Say it again.
Consistency.
Consistency. Picking a lever, just jump up and down on it.
That's what I'm working on.
Ugh, we all are. It's rough.
And I notice Mondays are my worst days. That after I get, when I start Tuesday, I'm okay, and I figured out, like, you know what, the weekend sabotages my Monday.
Of course.
Because I normally get up at the same time every day, or you go to bed at the same time. But on the weekend, I go to bed and wake up at different times. So now I'm like, all right, I gotta go to bed and wake up at the same time every single day.
Well, what I love is all those phony statistics out there about, and they just prove something, like 66 days or 10,000 hours to study a habit. And it's valid. But what they don't tell you is in like 2 days, you can destroy the habit.
Right.
It really, I mean, you know, I was doing really good on my weight journey until about 3 months ago, when I started traveling again and I got back into some old habits, right? And I'm not careful, and I'm not, you know, I'm not prepping my meals at home like I was supposed to. So it's so easy to break those things. You have to be vigilant. Now, for me, I have to have downtime though, right? So I mean, you know, bake that in, whatever recharges you. You can't be zombies, right? All right, well, listen, I want to thank you for your time. This was a very quick crash course in some mainline shift principles, right? We will be bringing this type of material into the market center frequently. Most of what I like to do is workshop based, meaning we're actually going to sit down and work out things together for each other's businesses. This one's a little more like preachy because there's so much to get through. It's not my favorite style, but there's so much content out there about how you all can prep for a shift and get everything you need. And I just wanted to drive your attention to the most important pieces of those things. So make sure you email David so you can get the workbook to guide yourself through. And thanks for having me. Appreciate it. If you think I did a good job, then you should leave me an evaluation. If you didn't, then just ignore this. Now, kweval.com. If you go there, you're in the greater PA region. This is a market center event. Shift one day, and you'll find my name under the drop down under Jason Connor for the instructor. We appreciate you taking time to leave feedback. So, all right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
We're
And David,
credit is due. Good job.
you made it just in time.